All right, today we're going to pull back the curtain on something we've all had to deal with, taking a test. But we're not talking about how to study for it. Oh no. We're diving into the secret world of quality control that happens long before that test ever lands on your desk. Let's get into it.
You know the feeling, right? You're staring at a question, the clock is ticking away, and you're just completely convinced that whoever wrote it was trying to be tricky, not actually test what you know. It's a super frustrating feeling, but hey, we've all been there.
And here's the thing. You might actually be right about that. That question could totally be flawed. But what's so fascinating is that there's a whole scientific process that's literally designed to hunt down and get rid of those bad questions before they ever make it to you.
So, what is this secret process called? It's known as pilot testing. But honestly, the best way to think about it is like a test drive. You know, before a car company releases a new model, they test it like crazy on the road, right? Well, believe it or not, tests go through pretty much the exact same thing.
So what do we actually mean by pilot testing? Well, it's pretty simple at its core. It's all about giving the test materials, the whole shebang, to a small group of people who are just like the folks who will take the final test. The goal is to see how the test actually performs in the real world, to find all the bugs and iron out all the kinks before the big day. And this whole test drive thing actually has a few levels to it. You've got pre-testing, which is like a quick check to see if anything is obviously broken. Then there's field testing, which is like a massive final dress rehearsal. But right there in the middle, that's the sweet spot, piloting. This is where the serious data gets collected and analyzed, and it's what we're really going to focus on. Okay, so how does one of these pilot tests, these tryouts, actually work? You know, who takes it? What exactly is being tested? And how do they manage it all? Let's break it down. First thing you need to know, it is not just about the questions. Test developers, they put the entire experience under a microscope. Are the instructions clear? Is the timing fair? Do the audio clips sound okay? They even test the answer sheet and the rules for grading. It is a full package deal.
So who actually takes this test drive? This part is absolutely crucial. The participants have to be a mirror image of the people who will eventually take the real test. I mean, you can't try out an advanced calculus exam on art history majors, right? The skill level, the background, it all has to match perfectly. Otherwise, the data you collect is pretty much useless.
So the procedure itself is really methodical. It's a three-step dance. First, you plan everything meticulously. What's the goal? Who are the participants? What info do we need? Then, you actually administer the test under conditions that are as realistic as possible. And finally, you collect the data. And that's not just the scores, but also things like how long students took on each question and even their direct feedback.
Okay, the pilot test is done, the data is in. Now for the really cool part. Now, the detective work begins. Analysts start sifting through all this information, looking for clues about which questions are keepers and which ones need a serious rewrite, or just need to be thrown out completely. The first big clue they look for is called item difficulty, and it's pretty much what it sounds like. I mean, think about it. If absolutely everyone gets a question right, it's way too easy and doesn't really tell you anything. And if everyone gets it wrong, well, the question is probably flawed or just unfair. What they're looking for are questions in that perfect sweet spot, right in the middle.
But the next clue, this one's even more important. It's called item discrimination. See, a good question should act like a good filter. Students who did really well on the whole test, they should be getting this specific question right. And the students who struggled overall, they should be getting it wrong more often. If everybody's just guessing or getting it right or wrong at the same rate, the question isn't measuring knowledge, it's just adding noise. So a hard question isn't necessarily a bad one, as long as it correctly separates the students who know their stuff from those who don't.
And for all you multiple choice question fans out there, there's a real art to the wrong answers, what the pros call distractors. This quote here just nails it. A good wrong answer needs to look believable to someone who doesn't really know the material, but be obviously wrong to someone who does. It's all about creating these tempting but ultimately incorrect paths.
So, after all this planning, all this administering, all this detective work, what's the point? What's the big payoff? Well, it's all about building a final test that is fair, accurate, and reliable for every single person who has to take it. This whole process, it directly targets and eliminates all those frustrating things we hate about bad tests. Vague questions, questions that seem to have two right answers, confusing instructions, or even questions with cultural references that might unfairly trip someone up. The pilot test is designed to catch and fix all of them.
And all of that work, every bit of data, every analysis, it all leads to one single powerful goal:
creating one final test that is as valid and fair as it can possibly be, a test that you can actually trust.
So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that a good test isn't just written, it's forged. It's built through these cycles of trying it out, analyzing the results, and revising it again and again. This whole quality control loop is what protects the fairness of the test.
So, the next time you sit down for a big exam, just remember the secret journey that test went on to get to you. Every question, every instruction has been tested, analyzed, and refined. So, knowing all that, will you trust the next test you take just a little bit more? Something to think about.